Hi, I'm Garth Rowan, and welcome to Why We Say, where we look at interesting words, phrases, and idioms. Today it's pass the buck, which means to avoid responsibility, put the blame onto someone else if you have to. It became such an important, interesting phrase, especially in the 1940s, that when Harry Truman, the 33rd President of the United States, took office in 45, he put a sign on his desk saying, "The buck stops here," meaning there's no one else for him to pass it to. But where does the idea come from? What is the buck originally, and why do we talk about it so much? Now, when I first started doing this research, I thought it's got to be something to do with the dollar, slang word for the dollar being the buck. But no, not at all. It comes from poker. Now, poker was the most popular card game in the US from the 1860s onward. Still a very popular game today. It was most popular with the cowboys in the West. They loved playing poker because what else are you going to do, basically? They were drifters, they were going through, they hadn't much of anything. They would get around a table, and the trust level, of course, wasn't very high. So in order to help the trust level, they wanted to make sure that they changed the dealer every time. Because, let's face it, whenever you're dealing, that's the best chance you're ever going to have to play with the cards, to mix the cards up, to cheat, in other words. So to avoid the cheating, or to help cut the cheating down, they would change the dealer. So whenever each hand was up, the marker that was used to show who was dealing was moved to the next person, and they had the responsibility of a fair deal. So the buck was passed. So what could a buck possibly be that would get passed? Well, there weren't very many options. A coin? No, because there were so many coins in the middle of the table that another coin would be confused with what they were all trying to win. Do you want to put a gun in there? Heaven forbid. There was enough gunplay going on. The third thing that every cowboy carried was a knife, and that was what the buck was all about. So why don't we just say passing the knife? That's because the knife handle was made of the horns of a male deer called the buck. It was known as a buck knife. And that's why we say passing the buck. But there are other places where we use the word buck as well. There's the young bucks, there's the wild bucks, there's the bucked off a horse, there's bucking for promotion, there's buck yourself up and get some more energy. All these expressions stem from one place, England, in the 1800s, the Regency period, when the son of King George III took over for a while his father was considered to be mad. So regent meant you're ruling, but you're not the king yet. The king's still alive. He's mad. He can't rule. So you're doing it until he dies. Eventually, the regent became George IV, but he was a wild character, bit of a spoiled brat. In fact, he listed as his hobbies drinking, fornicating, gambling, and general debauchery. He was a wild character, and the young aristocrats of that Regency period, they copied him. So their parents would say, "Oh my goodness, here come the young bucks," because they were behaving like young male deer at mating season, if you get the idea. And that's why we say the young bucks. Thanks for your time. If you enjoyed the show, please hit subscribe. It would help me out. Take care.